Hello and welcome to the Checkpoint Reach podcast. I'm your host Luke Elders. Today I'm joined by my fellow gamers and friends Sudden Perks. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, good. Very good. Not too bad. Doing okay.
As good as you can be.
Good to
Yeah.
hear. And we're also joined by, once again, Matty. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate.
Back
Good.
to becoming a regular.
I know, yeah. It's amazing what coronavirus does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been a...
It's brought you back into the fold.
It has.
Yeah.
And that obviously brings up the first question because we're still in self-isolation, so we hope wherever you're listening that you're doing well and you're healthy. But what have you guys been playing during this time?
We've been playing a few games, haven't we, together?
We
The last couple of days, 3 days.
Yeah. Mismatch of
Yeah.
various Game Pass titles that are on there. If anyone's looking for any co-op games to play with mates during isolation, I would definitely not recommend Totally Reliable Delivery Service. I probably would recommend Gang Beasts, even though you do have to pay for that. But then, there's a few other ones on there, isn't there? I mean, there's Pez that we've been playing, Overcooked. So we've been playing quite a few things. Obviously, being in isolation gives you the chance to play a few games that you wouldn't have necessarily played. So it's nice to play a few co-op games.
The thing about that Totally Reliable Delivery Service is, I mean, it's a bit of a laugh. It's one of them games that you can just play for like a couple of hours and have a laugh.
Yeah,
in it, really.
you can have a laugh on it for about half an hour, and then that's pretty much it. You probably want to delete the game after that.
Yeah, it's not a game I should play for like 10 hours or something like that, but
no,
it's a game you can. It's on Game Pass. It's free. I certainly wouldn't pay a lot of money for it. Put it that way, but
yeah,
it's on Game Pass, so it's definitely worth trying on there.
After a laugh with your mates, it's a decent one to download if you all own Game Pass. I mean, I'm assuming anyone who does have an Xbox has Game Pass. Perks.
Had Game Pass, hardly used it. So, used it for the major titles and then got rid of it.
Yeah, but it's worth having now. You can get that deal again for £1.
Yeah, it's definitely worth having £1
I mean, the funny thing is that given the circumstances, I've actually been playing less games than ever before. So I don't really know how that's worked out, but yeah, I've had.
I don't really understand.
Been busy building trampolines.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the days taken up.
Yeah.
Oh, trampoline perks. But yeah, it's a surprise that you haven't been playing as well. It is and it isn't, given.
Yeah, I know.
the
With the living
changes,
circumstances, I mean, I've gone from like 10 to 12-hour gaming days to maybe 2 hours a day if I'm fortunate. So, yeah.
Pressing times.
And even then, the state of the connection doesn't exactly inspire me to play any more than I'm currently doing. So it's not the best of times.
Yeah, well, I had the same problem with Matty last night because Matty's connection's good until, I don't know, like every now and then it just drops out and we try playing Pez.
Every now and then it falls apart.
It did.
How did it go on Pez? Were you playing one-on-one or playing against others? Or
Yeah, one-on-one random teams, mate. I think I just about edged it. I think it was
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's crazy. Like, we were playing and every time someone played worse than the other, they won. Whoever played better lost pretty much in every game.
Yeah,
so
just like
I don't know if that's any indication of this year's Pez, but...
Oh, I nearly caused an upset. I was New Zealand and Matty was... Who were you, Matty?
PAOK?
Oh, yeah, the Greek team.
I don't know if that's an acronym or they're actually just called PAOK, but...
Yeah.
PAOK.
You were them and...
Salonika.
I scored in the 87th minute to take it to extra time after being 1-0 down, and then I conceded 2 in the 119th and 120th. So
Oh, no.
that's sickening. And I had a chance in extra time to take the lead. Oh, still pains me that.
it's going to pain you out for the next month or so.
I know, the mighty underdogs.
thinking about
I didn't even have Chris Wood or anything. The squads on that game is weird.
Oh, do you have fake players with New Zealand?
I had like a mix. I had 3 real players because I had pictures, and then I had like Bobby Hansen up front who scored.
What a player.
And like Nathaniel Blacknell or something as a strike partner. Terrible, man.
It's a good team, though.
Well, I put up a
Yeah. Anyone who does have Game Pass and likes football games, maybe a bit bored of FIFA, I would probably recommend Pez. I've played Pez for probably the last 4 or 5 years on and off, and this is probably one of the worst ones gameplay-wise I think they've made, but it's still a bit of a change from FIFA.
No, it's much better than FIFA. I mean, there's no doubt about that. 100% better than FIFA. If you're considering between the two, it's a no-brainer. I mean, I know you say PES may be worse than like the previous ones, but that means it's still 10 times better than FIFA. So I don't think it's a contest, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd recommend trying out PES, especially with it being on Game Pass. I do like it, so it's worth checking out. But yeah, is there any other games? I don't think we played many other. Me and you played
I'm
over.
playing Fable Anniversary.
Oh yeah, big Fable.
Yeah. It's you forget when you play that game how like quirky that game is. Like,
I love Fable.
There's so much charm in the game. It's like just the voices and the accents and stuff are hilarious. To be fair,
You get my
it actually makes the
chickens.
game. Yes.
My
And
chickens.
for some reason we were saying, weren't we? Like all the Scousers are always the bandits. Like it's just like, yeah, of course they are. What a shock!
Stereotyping at its worst.
Yeah. So, but it's fun. It's just a fun game. Like they're just classics, aren't they? So
Yeah.
it's fun. I've never played it before on the original Xbox, so good to play this. That's what's great about backwards compatibility, isn't it? Being able to play games like this.
It is.
You know, being able to go back.
And I definitely
So,
recommend it.
I'm about 8 hours in, so not exactly that far in, but
The hero of Albion.
enough to know that it's a good game. So
Enough to know that you should stop now and never load it up again.
no, it's a good game.
Don't listen to him.
I disagree. I
Don't
completely
listen
disagree.
to him. Keep playing. It's
Fable's
good.
a good game. It's not. I'm not saying it's like
Garbage
top
series.
tier.
Fable
or anything like
franchise
that, but-
sucks.
Oh
No,
dear.
Fable's good. Fable's
dear.
good.
I'm going to clip that up, mate, and put it out because the last time we said something sucks, we got a lot of.
Yeah,
Hate.
we got hate. Bring the hate.
So yeah.
Well, you're going to hate it then if they reveal this rebooted Fable, even though it won't
Yeah, I
be
mean,
anything like Fable.
I've said for
whatsoever.
a long time that I couldn't care less if Fable comes back or not. I've never seen it as a big franchise. I don't
Yeah,
really
but
want any
I
more
think
of
you'll
it.
change your tune when you see that the game looks more like The Witcher or Horizon. To be honest with you,
I am
because
not
it'll just be
gonna-
Fable in name only.
Like, I'm not going to hold my hopes on that.
Is there
I
actually
would,
any
to be
game
honest,
though,
'cause
Perks, that you are looking forward to? If they announced anything, has it got
To
to
be
the point
honest, I
where
don't
like they
really
could
know
literally
these
announce
days.
anything at this point? Yeah.
Over the last few years, it's pretty much been, I'm looking forward to like X, Y, or Z, and then I play it and it's crap, and then it's just like rinse and repeat. So
I'm
yeah,
intrigued. I'm intrigued to know why you don't think that a Fable would be in that vein, a rebooted one.
I just don't trust whoever has a hold of it right now.
Playground
whichever studio
Games,
it's with
who make
Playground to make Fable.
Excellent games.
But you don't even like Fable as it is. So
Yeah, like,
that doesn't make any sense. It
I
doesn't
would
really
like
matter
to see-
who the
no, here's the
developers
thing.
are.
I would like to see a Fable that wasn't Fable. So if they do completely like re-energize the series, then great. But I have no faith that it would be that way. So
Well, I think you might be pleasantly surprised in a couple of months
I hope I
when
am.
we find out.
Yeah, like I hope
So-
it does look like The Witcher 3, but
I
I'm
hope it
gonna
doesn't, to
I'm
be
gonna
honest.
be very pessimistic. I don't.
I mean,
Really?
I know. I hope it doesn't look like The Witcher 3. I want it to look like Fable. I mean, I really don't care about it being a massive open world, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah,
None of the
yeah,
open
but-
worlds in Fable in the original Fables were that big. I mean, I'm not really. I think that's a really overrated feature these days. I mean, The Witcher 3 is an absolute anomaly in the fact that it had a massive open world with a lot of stuff to do everywhere in it. But I'd rather have quality content for the sake of a large, boring, empty map, just so you can say, "Oh, our map's this big." I think I've always been of that
Oh
opinion.
no, like yeah, definitely, I agree. Like it's always been that way for me as well. There's no point having a massive space with just a vast emptiness like Gears 5. There's no use in that. You can't just build a space and claim to have the biggest space and have nothing in it. That's pointless. But for me, like, I don't know, like you guys probably have different opinions, but Fable's always appeared quite childish to me and a bit aimed at a younger audience, even though it has like undertones that aren't that way. But I don't know. I prefer the more adult themed games.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
I
I think
can
you'll
understand where you're coming from. It can be a little bit childish at times, or looks childish, but mate, there's still plenty of hours of enjoyment to be had in Fable. I mean, well, you clearly
Yeah, I
disagree,
agree.
but
Yeah.
I think I think I'm with Mai actually. I don't know if I want it to be in Witcher 3 vein, but because like the old ones, they hold a special place in my heart. I love them, so I just
but
like
I
what
think,
they've
I
done.
don't know. I think you'll change your tunes if you actually see the game and it's great and it's like, oh wow, this is actually like a first party game that might actually be really good. I don't know. I think you might change your tune slightly. Maybe.
I'm not gonna get carried away with it. Like I said, if I see Fable rejuvenated, I'll be interested. If I see Fable and think that looks like Fable, I'm gonna care just as less as before. Like, it's not gonna bother me.
Maybe a mix of the two would be best then. A little bit like the old Fables, but obviously a little bit more like Horizon or a game like that. Somewhere in between. Perhaps could be.
Yeah, I'd take that. I'd happily take that. We'll see.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Exactly.
There you go.
Might not have to wait too much longer. Either.
We might not. But another game that we want to talk about, which is the first topic of the day that's apparently in development, is a new GTA. Rockstar reportedly making changes to fix crunch culture as well. The next entry in the series is reportedly a long ways from release and may take on a different scope due to alleged changes at the Red Dead and GTA studios. Obviously, this would be before we talk about the fixed crunch culture at Rockstar, but this is something that we all want. I'm assuming all happy with a new potential GTA game. Well, it does say that it's in the works, so we're in development.
Not exactly a shock, is it?
No, it's not a shock. But
Rockstar's most popular franchise comes again.
It does, but it's been ages, man.
Yeah.
Too long.
I think the shock with this is that it's still rumored to be like very early development. Like, people would have thought it may be halfway through by now.
Might indicate that they are working on something else as well. I mean, there's been rumors that they've been working on Bully for years, so
yeah,
I think a lot of people would want that to be true.
True, but GTA Online went so big as well that maybe that took their attention.
Yeah, I mean, make no mistake, this is going to be a next gen title. Like,
yeah,
they're going to build. It'll probably be similar to the way they did it with GTA 5. To be honest, they might squeeze it out on current gen consoles. Like, obviously, it won't look anywhere near as good as the one on next gen consoles, but I really hope it's a fully fledged next gen game. I hope they just take the new systems and work to that spec and don't hold back. Go all out, make it 60 FPS, make it 4K, make the world huge, because that's what people want.
Well, yeah, I think we're looking at least 2022, 2023 at the very minimum. Could even be longer because they do say it's nowhere near done. So if you assume it's been in probably, you'd imagine full development since the end of Red Dead 2. So we're talking, it's probably only been in development for just over a year anyway, maybe 18 months. So, and making a GTA game takes at least 3 or 4 years, if not longer. So, yeah, I think we're looking at 2022, late 2022, maybe early 2023, sometime like that. I mean, I'm in the minority. I'm probably in the vast minority these days with GTA. I mean, I really don't care about the online on GTA. I've always thought it was a bit subpar, to be honest with you.
I've always wanted to play it because I've always believed that it could be good. You know what I mean? Like, the idea of having a massive open world in GTA to mess around with your mates is always a great idea in principle, and then in practice they've never managed to get it right. It's always just been.
I actually like it.
I don't know how to just. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think GTA 5 Online is bad by any means. It's just I think the servers always what let it down more than anything. I mean, it's like when,
especially at launch.
Yeah, I mean, when we played Red Dead
launch.
2 online, all we were trying to do was just complete missions, me, you, and Sir Delden, and we literally couldn't even play the game. It was that laggy. It's just like, what is this? It's 2019, and you literally can't even play an online game because the servers are just so piss poor. It's really, really frustrating.
Yeah, I do agree that Red Dead was really poor, but I actually have had a lot of enjoyment out of GTA Online in recent weeks. I've been playing it with a couple of other friends of the show, Dan and Xander.
Zan and Dander.
Yeah, I know. Zan and Dander, good lads. But yeah, I've been playing with them. But the biggest problem with the GTA Online is still the loading times. The amount of times you get stuck in the sky. And you just have to wait, and then it's kicked you out. You're not in the same game anymore, and it's just like, oh my god, that's frustrating. But what they've implemented in there is fun. You can buy things now, buy properties, a lot of missions, heists, obviously a lot of racing and stuff like that. There's loads to do. So, yeah, if they just improved the loading times, I think it would have been a lot better.
I just think for me, GTA is at its best when it's focused. and when it's not being sort of too open, if you know what I mean. I think the best GTAs are the ones that are a bit more focused, especially the stories. I think GTA 5, yeah, I enjoyed the story. I thought it was good, but I don't know. I think it lost something. The fact that it was like from GTA 4 to 5. I mean, I still think GTA 4 is a better story personally than GTA 5. I think it's got a better narrative than GTA 5. But GTA 4 was obviously a smaller game. It was a lot more focused. So they're not going to do that, obviously, because we know the trend nowadays is to make everything bigger. So I think GTA 6 will probably be more in the vein of 5, probably even bigger. Probably
this
have an
is
even bigger
one
map.
of the only studios, though, that I actually trust to make it bigger and still make a really good game.
Yeah, I've got no doubt it'll be a great game. It will be a great game.
Look at the size of Red Dead. If Red Dead's anything to go by, then this is going to be just as big, if not bigger than that. And how long did the story... I think the story, to be honest, dragged out, and Red Dead, as brilliant as it was.
Probably 60, 70 hours by the time you were done.
Red Dead, when he was like,
I loved it.
We just need a little bit more gold. A little bit more gold. And you're sat there and you got like, I don't know, 20,000 or something goals. Like, mate, I've already got enough. And they're just like, we just need one more big score. It's like, oh, friggin' hell.
Yeah, I think it was extended, obviously, because of the last part of the game was extended a lot, wasn't it? Without any spoilers.
Yeah. I didn't even complete the last part.
Oh, I love that last part. I think the last part's great. But I think the whole game's great, to be honest with you. It's
couldn't be arsed working on the ranch.
Amazing game, to be fair. It's definitely a 10 out of 10 game. But, see, I don't really mind if the story's quite long. It's just, I'm not sure I want the world to be too big. I don't know. I think when it gets
I'm of the opposite with that.
It's getting a bit... I don't know. I don't want GTA to be too big. I just think it's better when it's a bit more manageable.
I think the age-old question is where is it going to be set? Where do people want it to be set?
I've seen rumours before this one came out that apparently it was going to have like all the GTA places in one, and like you could fly to like Liberty City and to, Los Santos and stuff. But everyone, I think we're all in agreement. We'd like to see a London one. That would be cool. Something different.
I just don't think that'll happen.
It's probably, as I said, it's never going to happen.
Never imagine it,
I guess the problem with doing a London one as well is it's unrealistic that you can just go to like Walmart and buy guns and stuff. So it's very hard to make it believable by people running around with like AK-47s and stuff because,
Well, one of the big rumors.
I don't want to get into any debate, but
yeah.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
One of the big rumours about the game from a few months ago was that it was going to be set in the 70s, which I think would be quite interesting.
70s.
I actually quite like that idea because I think it'd just be different.
70s.
No, I don't know. I think Rockstar can pull it off. They pulled off the 80s, didn't they, in Vice City? So I mean, pretty amazingly, to be honest. So I think they could pull off the 70s.
Yeah, but the 80s is more fun. I don't like.
Yeah, I agree, but this is Rockstar we're talking. I think they could pull off any era. To be honest with you, I think if they can pull off the Wild West era, they can certainly pull off a GTA set in the 70s.
I don't doubt their ability to pull it off. Like whichever era they go for, whichever setting, I think the game itself will be amazing. It's just about our own personal interests in that. Yeah. Like I'm with Eldon on this. Like I see the 70s and I kind of feel the same apathy that I do towards the Wild West settings. I'm just like, nah. All right then.
I agree, but I think the problem is for GTA now is that we've had 2 in a row that have been set in sort of modern times or like, you know what I mean? So I wouldn't be shocked if they do try and go to a different era because, Vice City was obviously a very popular GTA.
Great game.
You had San Andreas set in the 90s, so it just wouldn't shock me if it was set in like the 70s. Or maybe it won't be, maybe it'll be the 80s again or something, but I wouldn't mind them changing it up a little bit just because I think... I don't know. I don't really want another game that's just set in a normal time again because it's just a bit boring to me.
I don't think it's boring. 2 in a row that have
been set like that.
I love the satire because so much has changed since GTA 5 in the world, and they've got more things they can mock, and they would pull it off as well, and they would.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Sort of fake Donald Trump and stuff. It'd be
I mean, my favorite GTA is San Andreas. Just going back to that, and it always will be. But I'd love to see San Andreas with every area just padded out, maybe like 10 times bigger than it originally was. Because what I liked about the San Andreas map is how diverse it was. It felt like you almost had 4 different parts to the story based on each location, and that was a really really cool feature. Just kept the campaign really diverse.
What were the places again? It was meant to be San Francisco, LA, and Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just had the hit part of the map at the bottom.
I hated the hit part. Jesus.
I mean, obviously they could do what we've all said. They could do the whole there's 3 different locations, but I don't know. I'd be very disappointed if it was set in San Andreas again. Only because we've had San Andreas, obviously, and we've had GTA 5 that was set in that Los Angeles. I think it'd be a bit boring to have another game set in Los Angeles. I think they have to change it up a bit.
There's only a few cities in America they can use, really, isn't there? I'd assume.
They can either try and go back to Liberty City, try and do like a Vice City, theme again. I don't know. I just think I'd be very disappointed if it was San Andreas again. Personally, I think that'd be very boring.
I think with the scope that they bring to the table with regularity with each of their games, I would be shocked if they actually decided to not reuse assets, but expand on what they've had before. It seems like a wasted opportunity, especially with so many years in between games.
I think if they are building this for like almost a base for GTA Online, which is where a lot of their money comes from, it makes sense to do the biggest, most diverse area possible, to be honest, because it keeps it fresh for people who are playing the game. I don't really want to play GTA Online and be confined to like one city. I like to have that diversity, and that's why GTA 5 worked so much. Because obviously you had the city at the bottom, but you also had the sort of forest area at the top. So you had a lot of diverse areas. Yeah, but there's still diversity to the map. I think you lose that if you're making like a Vice City-esque game where it's literally just one city.
Everything feels the same no matter where.
Yeah, no, but you can expand on it, can't you? It could be a massive city like that, and like GTA 5 have another area that's just added on.
Didn't they have that though in the games when they've used one city? They've always had different areas of the map that feel different. I can't remember Vice City off the top of my head.
You have to remember as well with the early GTAs like 3 and Vice City and stuff. A lot of it was because of constraints with the console. I'm sure they would have loved to have had more diverse areas, but it was because of the constraints of the console where it was just set in sort of one main area. They've not got that problem nowadays, have they?
Yeah, but why would they get rid of that problem but then not have a large open world?
Yeah, they would create
I'm
the
not
problem
saying it
for
doesn't need to be big,
themselves.
but I don't want it to be like absolutely to the point where it takes an hour to drive across the entire map or something.
Yeah, but you just said you wanted Fable to be like The Witcher, so you got to be consistent.
Well, I do want Fable. Yeah, but it's a different type of game, isn't it?
Well, not really. The Witcher's a massive open world.
I want the game to feel more like The Witcher. It doesn't necessarily need to be as big as The Witcher. That's just more like Horizon, for example, is nowhere near as big as The Witcher, but it's still a great game. I mean, that's what I mean. To be honest, yeah. Going back to just Fable for a second, that is what I meant with Fable in terms of I'd want it to be more focused, but obviously, have the sort of style of like a Horizon or a Witcher, rather than the actual how big it is. But I don't know. With GTA, I think I'm in the minority anyway. I don't really like GTA as much as I used to be honest with you. I think GTA 5 kind of soured me a little bit just with the whole how it was just more focused only on the online, and I don't know, no DLC for the single player, which was very disappointing.
I'm hearing this more and more from you of late. A lot of games I talk to you about, you going, just not the same. Don't like it as much as I used to.
Yeah, it's kind of true. I think I don't know. I just think with GTA in particular, I was just very disappointed with the direction they've gone in. I understand why and look, I know I'm in the minority with it. Like, I know that I'm in the probably 10% of people that want GTA to be more single player focused. I know 90% of people probably wouldn't even be bothered if there was no story in GTA. But if there was no, if they just went on GTA Online in GTA 6, I think that'd be terrible personally.
I don't think they'll do that. There'll be a story.
I don't think they'll do it.
It's what they're built upon.
No, I agree. I don't think they'll do that either. But I do get the sense they're going to focus more and more and more with each GTA just on the online, which I think is disappointing personally. But I know a lot of people would probably love it.
I still think they'll knock it out of the park with the story.
Storytelling is always been
amazing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I was going to mention that. And they did it with Red Dead. They've done it with both Red Deads. And they seem to have done it with every GTA for me. I've loved them all, to be honest. Do we think that they will use the 3 main character system again? I remember before GTA 5 when that was announced, I was like, ugh. I don't think
any of us were looking forward to that.
No, and they knocked it out of the park. So, do you think they'll revert? Well, stick with that, or do you think they'll revert back to the single protagonist?
No, I think they'll stick with it. I think they'll stick with at least 2, 3 protagonists. Only because I've got in my head that there's definitely going to be a female protagonist, in my opinion. in this
Some
one.
badass
I think
girl.
one of the 3 characters. Yeah, I think at least one of the 3 or 4 or however many characters they have will be a female. And actually, I don't know. I know some people might think, oh, they're just throwing it in for the sake of it. Rockstar don't tend to really do that, so I think if they're going to do a female protagonist, they will put a lot of thought and care into it. I also think it's just different as well. It would be more interesting. It's a different perspective on the game, so I wouldn't mind having that person.
I reckon they could make a good female character. They made that one
I agree.
in Red Dead that I liked. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
You remember when you save her and then she becomes really good with a gun?
Yeah,
I
she
can't
was
remember
pretty
her
cool,
name.
to be fair.
What
She
the
was
hell
a good
was her name?
character.
Yeah, I can't remember it, but
now, but
I thought she was
yeah.
a good character. So, I mean,
Yeah.
do you think they'd get a lot of flack for a female protagonist?
I don't think they should,
I hope
as long as they do it well.
Just
long as
has
they
to
do
be
it
in
well.
taste. You know, the GTA will probably be done in taste. I think we're probably all of the agreement. Like, I literally don't care about whether your protagonist is male, female, whatever. It doesn't make a difference to me. What makes a difference is making a good and believable story. And the problem is people have been shoehorning females into ridiculous Mary Sue-esque roles just for the sake of it, and people can read that. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you there. I think it's a good company as well to bring in a female protagonist into a world where they've already, knocked them out the park with their stories. So I think they could definitely tell a really good story-driven character that's a female.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it if the protagonist, the only protagonist you could use in the game, was a female character. I know they probably won't do that, but as long as it tells a good story, that's what people care about more than anything.
Yeah,
that's true.
Look at
I think
Horizon.
the magic they have with Rockstar
exactly.
is that they can actually do a male or a female character, and just it doesn't actually matter which one of the two it is. You could just apply a different skin, and it would feel authentic. It would feel real. So I don't have a problem with it. I'd be quite happy if it was split 50-50, or if there was 2 male, 2 female. I don't really care. I have faith that Rockstar wouldn't mess that up and wouldn't shoehorn it just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll stick with obviously we know it's going to be third person, but do you think they'll include the first person mode again as standard this time?
I don't know. Does anyone actually use that? Because I know it's been in Red Dead and GTA, but every Let's Play I see never has it. Like, never ever. Like, no one plays Red Dead in first person. I've not seen one.
Did Red Dead have first person?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
I didn't even know.
Wow, I really didn't even know that. That's wow. I didn't even know. I never changed to first person on Red Dead.
I mean, maybe I'm just tripping or something, but I'm 99% sure it has first person in it if you just hold back.
Maybe, I don't know. I never tried it, but I did try it in GTA 5 for a while. And I was like, this is cool. It's cool they managed to put it in the game. Yeah, I did a little bit. They did do it well, though, to be fair to them. That, it wasn't. I think it was a bit more than just a gimmick, because they actually completely redesigned the way the game felt and stuff in first person. So they did a good job with that. But I don't know. I think third person is the way GTA probably should be, to be honest with you. It's the way it's always been.
I'd prefer it to be third.
I think if we took a worldwide vote, I think 99% of people would prefer third person.
Yeah,
it's funny because I actually think the same as you, Eld, on the first person angle. I think it did feel like a gimmick, and obviously, like Sud said, it wasn't. They put a lot of time and effort into it, but that's worrying because it definitely came across like a novelty, like a gimmick. So I think they could do without it.
Yeah, I mean, they could throw it in there if you want to try it out again, but yeah, just make it the main focus on third person, I think.
Yeah, I think they will anyway.
Yeah, we should touch on also the other part in this report about the fixed crunch culture, because apparently that's going to be changing. According to the new report, Rockstar has attempted to root out the causes of widespread crunch reported at the studio, including changes in leadership throughout many of its offices, outside management training, and plans to improve technology pipelines and scheduling for production on the next game. I mean, to me, this is all just jargon, and then within a few years, or whenever this game's out, it'll be, crunch time was there.
Yeah,
it was rife.
I mean, they do talk about a bit of a structure change, don't they? The way they're going to proceed with this game. I think they talk in the article about how at launch the game might be more of a sort of medium. I think they say in the report something about it's going to be more of a medium-sized game or something compared to like GTA 5 at launch, but then obviously medium-sized game for Rockstar is still a massive game. But then over time it'd add more content, which it always worries me a little bit when they start saying things like that, because it always makes me think, well, is the game going to be not finished at launch? But not fully finished. That's a little bit of a worrying comment for me, but I don't know. I still probably have faith that Rockstar would deliver a pretty good product at launch. I mean, maybe with they mean more the online stuff, maybe with the content, hopefully.
Yeah, delay that.
I don't want to be seeing like, you play the
I'm
story.
pretty sure they did
last.
time, to be honest.
typically
Yeah, they did.
I mean,
you
couldn't play online for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I think if you just went on the cell phone, it just said coming soon or whatever.
And do you remember how bad it
You
was?
couldn't play the online for a few months.
Yeah,
how bad it was.
Trying to get online, it was impossible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, stuck in car with Lamar. I do remember now. I just blanked that out of my mind. Thanks for bringing that back up. Just sitting there for half an hour staring at a car.
It's a strange one with the crunch, though, isn't it? Because Red Dead 2 had a lot of criticism, didn't I? If you remember rightly, when that launched, about in the last few weeks, people saying like, "Oh, people working ridiculous hours and stuff like this." But I don't know. I've got a slightly different view. I think with games like this, people have to work long hours to make the game what it is. I mean, that's just the way it is. That's why these games, Naughty Dog have had criticism, haven't they, with their crunch, with The Last of Us, and it's like. But have you noticed that the games that are getting criticised are the great games? Like that, they're the ones that get criticised because they're the ones that need the biggest crunch.
My thinking with it is,
I get what you're saying, but it is difficult to sit there in the same breath and say, people should work 70-hour weeks because no one should be working 70-hour weeks.
But if they've chosen to do it. So
yeah, but that's the thing. You don't choose to do it. You don't choose to do it. They're scared to lose their jobs. They're not sitting there thinking, "Oh, I love working 70 hours a week." They're scared that if they don't get this product out in time, so say your job is to do a specific section of code for the game, and you have to do it by the end of Friday, and you haven't. I mean, you're going to be scared that you're going to lose your job, so you're going to sit there till Friday at 2 a.m. doing it because you don't want to lose a job at one of the most prestigious developers there are.
Yeah. And they've all got bills to pay, so
examples.
if you lose your job, then you're in trouble. There will be some people who do, like you said, so do take it on and they're happy to do it. But I think with big companies like this, surely they can stretch out the time frame of how long they take to develop the game.
No, I agree. But the problem is, I think the problem that they need to solve, and it's an industry-wide problem, is announcing release dates that are 2 years in the future and a year in the future. They just shouldn't announce release dates at all, to be honest, because that's what puts this artificial pressure on the developer. And I get that having a deadline does naturally make you work harder and it makes you more focused towards that goal, but as we've seen so many times, it's unachievable, and all it ends up doing is making the fans annoyed and making the developers overworking the developers, so it has a negative effect in two ways, really.
I don't know why they don't just keep it in-house. Yeah. Like, this is our aim. And then, like you said, maybe when they're like, actually, okay, we are on course for this. It looks like we're easily going to hit this. Then we can announce, like, oh, yeah, it's coming in 2022 or whatever.
Yeah, I just don't think you're ever going to fully solve. I think there's always going to be crunch. I just don't think that's going to, a lot of people say, oh, you can avoid it. Like, maybe you can make it better so it's not quite as bad, but I don't think you're ever going to avoid it completely because these AAA games, they kind of need crunch at the end because there's always things they find last minute, like bugs and things like that they have to work out. So, and without that, we'd get even more broken games and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think it's a double-edged sword.
Culture's very different in America as well. When I worked at a uni as the graduate assistant, I was doing stupid hours a week. It's like 7 in the morning to 11 at night, and I have had one day off in like a month or something. It's so different, the working culture there compared to like the UK, for example.
A lot of these developers as well, I mean, especially the ones, for example, on Red Dead 2, they will have got very big bonuses at the end of that game, a lot of them.
But they're not on good wages to begin with, they're not on as much as you think. I mean, we found that out doing games development in college when we found out people were on like 20k a year for that much work, and me and Bert were just like, right, it's time to just jack it in, I think.
Writing's on the wall, so get out.
And it's probably like everything, isn't it? Certain people will benefit more than others at the studio. There'll be certain people that get really big bonuses. There'll be some that probably don't get any. There'll be some that get
We know
low
which
ones.
people they'll be, mate.
It's like life, really, isn't it?
The only comment that I want to make,
life.
The only comment that I want to make, I do understand what you're saying, but what worries me is there are other industries like this, for example, animation, like animating films or cutting films, and you never hear about crunch in that industry. Maybe it's just there's less whistleblowers, they're more on top of it, but it doesn't seem to be as widespread a mainstream media issue. I mean, you hear about crunch at every single studio, and making like a Pixar animation for Disney or whatever, that's exactly the same process. You need to hit a deadline. It's stressful work, but you never hear about crunch at the end.
Maybe in that case, but you definitely hear about crunch in film and TV series making. Crunch is definitely even worse, I think. The amount of, we must have all watched like making of documentaries where it's like, they're literally like working till they're, they're ill a lot of the time. These are like directors and producers and stuff like that. So I don't know, because and they do say gaming is getting more like films and stuff in terms of production, don't they? Especially with the big AAA games. So I think the crunch is probably just as bad in films as in games, to be honest, and TV shows. I think it's
just you hear less of it. That's what I'm saying. Why isn't it a media issue?
Definitely a bigger thing in games. Yeah, I think it's not just mentioned as much as it in films. I think with games, it's seems to be more of a hot topic for whatever reason.
I think the most bizarre thing about the video gaming industry crunch for me is that it doesn't matter how long a game takes, whether it's part of an annual release cycle, you get one every year, or biannually, whatever. Maybe it's 5 years away, like a GTA is typically like years and years in between one to the next. It doesn't matter what period of time you've got, there still exists a crunch. So how does it always happen? Like, I've always found that bizarre. Like, I know when deadlines get pushed on you out of nowhere, then it creates that artificial, we don't have enough time for this, but we still have to do it, so there's the crunch. But how is it, no matter what studio you work for, no matter where in the world you're based, it's like, you have a year, there's still a crunch. You have 5 years, there's still a crunch. It doesn't seem to be eliminated anywhere.
I do also think it's probably a thing with sort of, I think a lot of people at these studios are probably perfectionists as well, especially on like the really big games. That's why they are the big games, because I think a lot of them studios, they don't settle until it's absolutely perfect, do they?
Yeah, and even
I think
when
that's probably
it's
another
done,
reason
it's
for the
not
crunch.
done. Like, that will be a lot of the mentalities. It can always be better. The polish can always be brighter, and so on. But in terms of actually getting to the point where the game is ready to go, it just feels that nobody can avoid that last month or so of just absolute annihilation within the studio.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I don't know.
Maybe it's just poorly managed. I mean, like, something sticks in my head straight away was Rod Ferguson. Obviously, he works at the Coalition now, but BioShock Infinite was a game that was in development hell for like 4 or 5 years, I think it was. It was constantly in development, it's coming out soon or whatever, and then you just hear nothing about it for like 12 months. And I think Rod Ferguson went onto the BioShock Infinite development team, and it was out in like 4 months. So I do think sometimes you just need someone to say, no, you need to stop adding stuff to the game. The game's done. There is no more polish. It needs to go out the door. Like, you need to find the right balance between being a perfectionist and being ready to go, actually getting a game out the door. And I think maybe that's an issue at the top.
It's quite a popular theme. They're called closers, aren't they, within the industry? They bring in external people to close the project and get it actually out of the door from the state of being in development hell, whatever you'd call it. So they bring these people in externally and they analyze the problems and say this, that, and the other, and that's how we get it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that a lot of developers could do with, by the sounds of it. I mean, how you can be developing a game for 5 years is just beyond me, to be perfectly honest. Especially when the game isn't even
there's a lot of days spent eating pizza or something. Nothing happens today, guys. We'll just eat some pizza and we'll come back in tomorrow.
I feel like, though, that it will be like heads of these companies. I feel like there will be nothing to do, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, is this done? Well, we need this done by next week. And all of a sudden it's like, well, why didn't you tell us this months ago? So we had longer to do it, and then all of a sudden it's just thrown upon them. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
You definitely get scenarios like that, and very, very briefly going off on the Anthem tangent here, but when they said, right, we want to see a test demo and we want it to be able to fly and we want this and we want that, when do you want it? It's like, next week.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So there will be intermittent deadlines between the actual end goal, but yeah, it's not a space that I envy, put it that way.
No, and I'm definitely with you there. I don't envy that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if what they mention in the report, if it does make a difference to crunch time at Rockstar, and we'll see with the next GTA installment for sure. But we're going to move on to our second topic of the day, and that's PS5 stock to be limited in first year, says the report. Production capacity could still change as the unpredictable pandemic rages on. According to Bloomberg sources, Sony will make 5 to 6 million units of the PS5 in the fiscal year, ending March 2021. For some perspective on that figure, the PS4 sold over 7 million units in around 5 months. And they also mentioned that the price tag to come in at around $499 to $549. So, what are our thoughts on this?
No surprises there, really. Especially on price. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's more.
What, more than the high end?
Yeah.
549.
Yeah, it says in the report they're still struggling with parts, which is very weird at this sort of time. I mean, it
doesn't surprise me though, Sud.
Using the same components.
Yeah, I mean, if you just take what we've seen, what we know, the knowledge that's out in the wild, I mean, we've got to assume the Xbox is probably like 4 months ahead in the development cycle. We've seen finished versions of the console. We've seen the controller. The PlayStation, we've seen nothing. So it wouldn't even surprise me if these aren't even the controller. It wasn't an actual controller that they showed. It was just a high res render. So I don't even think they've made the controllers yet. I honestly don't think they've made anything yet with this game. I don't even with this console. Sorry, I don't even think production started.
It'll have to start soon if they want to get it for November release or December release. It has to literally start very soon, or else they wouldn't get there in time, or else it'd be delayed if they're not going to start soon. So, and they're adamant that it's still going to be holiday 2020, which I don't know. I mean, that's still up in the air. It's not guaranteed that it will be holiday 2020. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
For either console, it's not 100% guaranteed. I think they probably both will come out at the end of the year, but
it's such an important target to hit though for them, isn't it? Getting those Christmas sales.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, absolutely. They'd lose a lot from not hitting that date, but I think it's annoying because we need to see the PS5 as well. I mean, I'm gonna guess that we probably will end up seeing it quite soon, considering they released the info about the controller. I'm assuming in the next month, 6 weeks, we'll probably see the console, to be honest with you. I mean, we've already seen the Xbox Series X. We know what that looks like. That like Mike said, it does seem like they are ahead slightly in terms of, development. I think the price is pretty... I don't know. That's a little bit of a surprise that they're talking that it might even be more than $499. I always assumed that Sony would... Because they are they're going to be the slightly less powerful machine. I mean, it's not a massive difference, but they are going to be slightly less powerful. You would assume that even though the Sony brand is massive, I don't think they can afford to be more expensive than the Xbox Series X. I think they have to at least be the same price.
Faster. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of fanboy debate now about the SSD and stuff like that.
Perhaps the controller though as well, Sid. I mean, the Xbox is just a simple controller. There's a lot of crap shoved into that DualSense controller that no one really cares about. That's going to artificially inflate the price.
It does look an expensive controller just by looking at it. To be fair, but yeah, I mean, you're right. The Xbox controller, to be honest with you, isn't really an evolution, is it? To be honest, I mean, it's got a share button.
It's slightly smaller and it's got a share button. Is the take basically?
I don't think you need to change much about the Xbox controller.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't need to change too much.
They don't need to change much. So the PlayStation clearly needed to do some improvements to the DualShock. Even though the DualShock 4 was a massive improvement on the DualShock 3, it still is inferior to the Xbox controller. So they needed to do something with their controller. It is probably going to be an expensive controller. I just think for me, PlayStation, they have to be at least on parity. Like, I know their brand is big and they'll sell units because of their name, even if the console's not as good. But if they come in at $549 and the Xbox Series X is sort of $499, I think that's a massive advantage to Xbox for next gen. I really do, especially with Xbox is also ahead on subscriptions, isn't it? I mean, you look at Game Pass. It's I know PlayStation Now is improving a little bit, and they'll probably. We'll probably see some sort of proper subscription service when they roll out more information about the PS5, but Xbox Game Pass is miles ahead. So that's another boon in the bonnet, really.
It's one of them. This is what Xbox has been. This console, this release is what Xbox has been building to for the past like 3 years. There hasn't been that many AAA games, but they have bought studios in the anticipation of making games for this next console. They've really heavily pushed Game Pass and the subscription model, and that's the sort of thing that they're probably not going to see massive benefits of right now, but next generation, like that money's going to start coming in, and they're going to start reaping the rewards really for trying to be maybe future-proof themselves, whereas Sony have been happy to just rest on their laurels for the last couple of years, which is fair enough. I don't blame them for it. They're making a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Matty, about sort of resting on their laurels and maybe getting complacent, and maybe they are getting more complacent. But, I mean, surely reality is setting in for them now that they need to start getting their act together, because they've seen that, I think even the social media sort of, it's still heavy for Sony and stuff like that, but even that's starting to sort of shift a little bit to me. I've seen more and more people sort of being like, I kind of prefer what Xbox are doing at the minute. So I think Sony definitely needs to get their act together in the next, 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, be careful with that social media. You remember, off the topic a little bit, do you remember with the UK elections, everything I was reading was like, oh yeah, Corbyn's got a chance, he's doing better.
Well, no, that's my
and then
point,
he got
really,
absolutely decimated.
Well, yeah, what I mean is, though, like, on social media, Sony is still massive. Like, it's still the biggest platform. You look at all the sort of like, look how many likes the controller got compared to like the Xbox console, and it's miles more for PlayStation. But social media it's one of the things. It's not always the reality when it comes to purchases and stuff like that. So, maybe on Twitter or something, it's like Sony are way, more likes and stuff like that than Xbox, but it might not, by November, December time, it might not be the reality. So they do have to be careful. One advantage we all know that Sony does still have is in the games department, and that is an advantage they will definitely still have in the first couple of years of the life cycle of the consoles, because a lot of their studios are still going to be 2 or 3 years away from delivering some of the games they're making. So, whereas I get this sense that a lot of Sony's development teams are probably not that far off being ready with a lot of their games, sort of God of War 2, Spider-Man 2, you think they're probably not far off the next Horizon, probably in the next year or 18 months. Whereas, the rumoured games from Xbox, sort of these reboots and stuff like that, and the new games they're going to be making, we're talking at least 2 or 3 years away for a lot of them. Mm. So, that is an area Sony is still going to have an advantage, but I think right now Xbox are definitely in sort of a good position. I'd say a really good position. They just need to, but they need to deliver with the games now. We all know that. That's the final piece for Xbox now. They have to start delivering. It's as simple as that.
I think before either of them deliver any games, they're going to need to deliver on something that may actually be taken out of their hands. And I keep reading reports every week that mass production of both consoles is going to be completely unaffected by the current pandemic, and everything's going to be fine. I don't know how that can be so confidently said at this point in time. So much is changing on a daily basis, and genuinely, like, I'm not trying to scaremonger here, but we might see a situation in which one or both consoles don't get to market at the end of this year. It would be an absolute disaster for them, like Matty touched on before, with the fall period being one of the most lucrative. But the generation might be decided one way or the other if one gets to market and one doesn't.
Yeah, that's very true. Because
that's very true.
This is, like you said, is ever changing. I mean, so many different people, and so many, like with football as well, for example, always saying like, "Oh, we're gonna get it done by June 30th. We're gonna get it done no later than July and stuff like that." It's like, well, you don't know, do you? You can keep coming out and saying these things, but this lockdown, I mean, it's been extended by 3 weeks in the UK. It's going to be longer than that.
Yeah,
we all think so.
And it could easily go into, the fall season. So,
yeah, I think who knows what happens in a month or 2 months, or towards the period in which mass production would need to begin. Like, I'm not talking about the consoles themselves not being ready to go. I'm talking about the units required not being ready to go.
Yeah, but I think part of the irony of it, Perks, is that these consoles are made in China, and China's out of lockdown now. People are back in work, so that is one advantage.
That is one area where
they're getting corona again, though.
True, but I think that's one area where it's looking probably more likely they are going. That's why I say like I'm still pretty confident they are going to come out at the end of the year. It's not a guarantee; they could still get delayed. Of course, they could. But I think with this report as well, they kind of and Xbox have hinted that they're still, on track to release this year, and they want to release this year. Obviously, I think that's why there's the reports of the supply constraints because I think both consoles will be supply constrained. Personally, I think it'll be harder than ever. If you don't pre-order one when they first get pre-ordered, I think you're going to really struggle to get one at launch. I don't think there's going to be many units at all.
But the thing with China is they might be in lockdown again in a month. They keep reporting
possibly.
more and more coronavirus numbers since they've come out of lockdown, and let's be honest, most people are unsure if these numbers are accurate. They could be a hell of a lot more. I doubt they're going to be less. So they could be on lockdown again. That's a wait and see
one with that, isn't it? We just genuinely don't know the situation there for at least a month or two.
Right? Like, I'm not trying to say like this is or isn't. I'm not trying to be definitive. I'm just playing the worst case scenario. Like if things go bad or things get worse very quickly, who knows? Like, who knows these sites that they use? Like, I'm no expert on where exactly in the world things are developed or where exactly within China things are developed. I don't know. Like, they might have stations that are miles apart, and maybe one gets hit really hard, and maybe the other doesn't. So, who knows, man? Like, can you imagine a situation in which Xbox comes to market and PlayStation doesn't at the end of this year, or vice versa? It would just be the most unprecedented, like, beginning of a new gen.
And people would definitely buy it. Like, even if they were going to buy a PlayStation, I think a lot of people would turn and buy the Xbox just because it's the new shiny thing.
Yeah, like whether they wanted to or not, they'd feel like forced into it.
That's why I think they would. That's why, though, that fear of that makes me think they will pull out all the stops now to make sure. Even if it's supply constraint by even more than they say in the article, I think they'll just do it because they'll think, well, yeah, we probably might only sell half of what the PS4 sold at launch, but it's better than not coming out at all.
Yeah, you have to get to market. So I guess that would be the eventuality.
I do think, by the way, I don't think Xbox is immune to that. I think Xbox is going to have supply constraints as well, like severe. I think they're both going to have severe supply constraints. So I think both consoles probably. I wouldn't even be surprised if both don't sell anywhere near what even the Xbox One and PS4 sold at launch. I think they'll probably both be lower because the Xbox One and PS4 there was just more available.
Do you feel like the Xbox One and PS4 though? I mean, they came off the back of notoriously the longest game generation there's ever been with the 360 and the PS3. They were so long in the tooth by the time those consoles came out. People were literally desperate for a new console. So I think that played in there. I think regardless of supply constraints, that these consoles aren't going to sell as much as the Xbox One and PS4 did, because I just don't see that. Time. Yeah, maybe, but I don't see that like initial clamoring for a new console that there was in the Xbox One and PS4.
It might be a slower burn. I think it might be a slower burn generation in terms of you might see a more steady trajectory. Whereas I think a lot of the consoles this generation was, not all obviously, but a lot were sold in the first 2 or 3 years, weren't they? And then it kind of plateaued off quite a bit, but I think you might see more steady burn with this one, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Matt's point there about the desperation. It's not going to feel like it felt back then. You're not going to see one image to the next and think you're literally a generation apart.
Yeah.
You're going to think, that looks nice.
That's my point, I guess. I mean, if you did wait for a year, it's not really a disaster with these consoles because the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro already look great as it is. Even the standard consoles still look okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. And there's still this rumor as well, isn't there, about the this cheaper Xbox that's going to launch. This Lockhart or whatever the code name is. That I actually think probably is true because they're starting to sell the Xbox One X. They're trying to like sell them all off. As if they're going to maybe discontinue it.
I mean, I've seen them as cheap as the Xbox One S in the last couple of months, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, why on earth would you buy an Xbox One S over an X?
It's another good idea, I think, though, from Xbox. It's another clever idea. If they can get a console that's a little bit more... I think we talked about this last week, didn't we? If they can get a console that's a little bit more powerful than the Xbox One X at launch, then it's an enticing prospect for a cheap price. So I think it's a really good idea. I think they probably will. I think it probably is true, the rumours, to be honest with you, about it.
Definitely be interesting. Be the first time that like a console has come out at launch with 2 SKUs that are actually different specs, other than like hard drive space and stuff.
Yeah, that would be very interesting to see.
Yeah, because we had obviously the Xbox 360 that had 2 SKUs, but the only difference really was the hard drive, wasn't it? One came with like a 20 gig hard drive, and one came with like, was it 4 gig or something terrible?
You had the PS3 as well with the big giant fat 60 gig
Yeah.
one, and then like 20 gig or something.
Yeah.
Lockhart, the Game Pass box, perhaps.
Yeah.
No disk drive box.
Yeah.
But yeah, that will definitely be interesting to see. However, that brings the end to the podcast. And if you're listening to us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts on the topics we covered today. If you're listening to us on any audio platforms, please leave a nice review and also pass on the pod. You can also follow the Checkpoint Reach podcast on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CheckReachPod. Links will be in the description below. And you can follow the guides on social media. Where can people find you, Sud?
It's at David Tenspud.
Perky?
At JG Perks.
Mai?
At Matty Cheatham.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Leld, LEL, 3Ds are the 9 the M for Instagram. Anyway, thanks for joining me as ever, guys. Stay safe and well, and we echo those sentiments out to everyone who's listening to the podcast. And we'll be back next week to discuss some more gaming news. Bye, guys.
Catch you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.